This is Aeon Byte Gnostic Radio, where ancient fire enters the digital age. From the temples of Egypt to the lost shelves of Alexandria, from banned gospels to modern simulations, the same forbidden questions keep returning. Who are we? What is this world? Who benefits from our ignorance? And what kind of knowledge has always been too dangerous to preserve? The Virtual Alexandria is not nostalgia for the past. It is the return of the archive as a living intelligence. A place where history, heresy, myth, technology, and consciousness meet. Every conversation is a collision. Scholars and rebels, mystics and skeptics, seekers and dissenters, all carrying fragments of a larger truth. This is cult culture and forbidden knowledge for the age of the Matrix. The library is open again, but entry is not without consequence.
Aeon Byte Gnostic Radio.
Happy heresies and welcome to the desert of the real. Heresy shouldn't be this much fun, but it is. It just is. Even when I'm doing my third health update to keep you guys on track. But beyond that, I've got some other surprises for you today. Hope everybody's having a good Saturn day and hopefully everybody's having a good weekend. I am inside here, relaxed on the kitchen. If you hear things breaking, it's probably a cat or two. And I wanted to do it outside, but it's been a rainy 2 days here in the Midwest. And I just couldn't risk having it there. It looks like Vance has joined us. Let me get back to here, and then we'll get Vance back in the game. What else was I going to say? Yeah, of course, there was a cat sitting on my notes. Already it happens. So anyway, again, I hope everybody's doing okay. Not much else on the housekeeping part. I've got a lot of great shows, a lot of great feedback from the recent shows. Outside of the shows, I think in around the 13th, I'll be on Coast to Coast doing a show on the death of Elvis as the America's magician and demigods passing day is on the 16th, or transitioning day. So I'll be doing that. And then at the end of September, I'll be doing a presentation at the Theosophical Society on David Bowie. The book isn't out since January, but it's time to get started. And I'm already being scheduled on podcast to talk about the Starman. So that's a little, you might say, news for you. Before we get started, and just to give some people who might be joining us live, I wanted to show you this little thing here. I like this quote from Dialogue of the Savior. Judas Thomas said, "Tell me, Lord, what is the beginning of the path? What the beginning of the path is?" He said, "Love and goodness. For if one of these existed among the archons, wickedness would never have come into existence." That is from Dialogue of the Savior. And I always love this quote because it shows us that, yes, the path is always love and goodness. The path of Gnosis is that way. Ray Taylor put out a really cool blog post today on his Substack, and he was talking about how knowledge is what sets us free. And he wrote very well that whenever you have the knowledge to break the illusion, love is always the inevitable result. That's what you will see. Or as Carl Jung often said, when you a conscious being can do only good, if you would, because in consciousness you find yourself in the flow of things, and you find yourself in a sense of being useful to the universe, to your fellow man, to the gods, and so forth. So I thought I'd share that with you guys. I also wanted to share, get down, cat. And of course, now they're going to attack me because they've heard the live button. I also wanted to share with you something from Gordon, and this is from his book, Animistic. And as always, I will do whatever I can to keep Gordon going, because the dead are not dead if we keep them alive. in our memories, with their contributions and everything else. I think Gordon once said that to the Mayans, death translates to looking back. In other words, the dead are always right behind us to help us. So I want to keep Gordon's wisdom going, and it also comes with a little insight too. This is from page 101, and he's talking about traveling on a plane over the desert. And reading, or he writes, my mind travels down the intervening roads of memory, and I wonder if this childhood visit is the origin of my lifelong interest in desert mysticism. From the early desert fathers and mothers to dynastic Egypt to Aleister Crowley's The Book of the Law. The association between mysticism and the desert cannot be explained, but can be explained away with the claim that you go out into the desert to be away from other humans, to effectively get some peace and quiet to focus on your mystic path. This is true enough as far as it goes, just insufficient. There is something specific about deserts that make them a unique expression of the sacred. Time moves differently in them, for one. The reality of your own death is ever present. You cannot stay there for very long before expiring. You are not only surrounded by illusions, but following them will lead to your doom, clarity, and danger. And then he put this small footnote at the back, which has always stayed with me. And I haven't really, well, I kind of follow it. But at the back, he puts the footnote. He writes, Gnosticism can only have arisen in a desert. And again, that's from Animistic, page 101. And that's the only time in the book that he mentions the Gnostics. So I thought that was interesting because, yes, of course, you've got Upper Egypt and the Nag Hammadi Library, the alchemical factories and all that. But even when I asked him in an interview, he said, yes, Gnosticism is a desert song. And he thought that was the essence of Gnosticism. So I don't know what your thoughts are. Obviously, when thinking of the desert, yes, the desert is the place where nature, where the world is at its harshest, but also at its most surreal. And it is a place full of spirits. It is a place, as Gordon writes, where one small step and your life is over. It is a place full of life, but it is hidden. You have to look for sparks, these sparks of life in the desert. And I'm sure some of you are probably thinking of that song by America, Horse with No Name. I always love the memes where the horse is like, Ralph, my name is Ralph. He's trying to tell the singer. But it's yeah, I do think Gnosticism is a desert song, and that's where it started. From a research standpoint, I haven't gone too down that hole, rabbit hole, or that desert hole too much. I mean, and I always wonder, perhaps it started with some cult of Set, perhaps the god, the trickster god, the god of boundaries, or the god of boundary destroying, but also the god of the immigrant and the outsider. Might have been some sort of ancient primordial Gnostic god. And if you haven't checked it out, I recently interviewed Nicholas Schreck, and he has plenty of work tying in Set or Seth to Abraxas. So that will be out in his future book on Abraxas, and it will be very exciting to see that. But I haven't gone down that rabbit hole, but I do think Gnosticism is a desert song. Um, so that's a little insight I wanted to share with you. So now that I've shared, I've done the housekeeping and all that, let's get on to the health update and whatever other goodies I have for you, because I will also give you a surprise presentation on how the Gnostics saw healing. So, yes, I just flashed it up here. As many of you know, 2 weeks ago, it was the MRI and the brain scan showed that I do not have spinal stenosis. And that was, I guess, good news and bad news. So, went back and got ultrasounds on my leg. And this is what we found out. I have something called arterial occlusive disease. And I'm always like, how do these names fit me so well? Occlusive. Ooh. And what exactly is this esoteric name, occlusive disease? Well, basically, it's a condition where arteries narrow or block, reducing blood flow, mostly caused by plaque buildup, high blood pressure. And what basically happens is, yes, the veins are fried. There's no blood flowing. So, of course, that causes numbness, pain, aching, and the inability to be mobile as it happened in my case. So all the veins on my left side are basically short and destroyed. And the solutions to this, as or the traditional solutions to this malady, are there are certain physical therapies which will cause the new veins to grow eventually. And with these new veins, eventually, well, things will go back to normal, but it's a long road to get that way. Obviously, blood thinners and other medicines would work well too. The extreme is the one where they want to put like balloons in your arteries or something to open it up. And I'm like, now we're getting into the experimental, I don't want to go there kind of part of part of the part of the treatment. So it is arterial occlusive disease. And I must admit that one of the causes for this, and according to my doctor, is smoking. That's one of the reasons he said causes it. And if you go look at Mr. Google or Mr. Clanker, that's what it will say. That's what it'll say too. So yes, the the roosters came home to roost or whatever. They came back. It got me in one way. Thank God it wasn't lung cancer, but it seems they got me. And the doctor said, "Look, why don't you just cut back smoking? That'll be really good for you." And needless to say, it's been also an adventure. I know I'm lighting a cigarette now, but because that's when the Wetiko gets activated. I said, "Okay, yeah, cutting back, yeah, that's not a problem." So, like, went one day and went like 5 hours. Very proud of myself. Went 5 hours without, a cigarette, and, then suddenly, unconsciously, found myself lighting up a cigarette and without and even more unconsciously lighting up 2, and then lighting up 3 and going, "Oh my god, this thing," what do you call it? The addiction or the Wetiko, the mind virus, it is a trickster, and that's what it's been doing to me or whispering in my head, "Well, you've gone so long without smoking, you need to make it up. It is urgent," or again, making me forget that I'm even smoking. It is extremely powerful, and of course, I notice these patterns, and of course, I want to make myself more conscious so that I am able to, as they say, cut down on the smoking, or maybe I just have to go cold turkey. But that is a fascinating, and as always, it's all about observing. If we're conscious and we're observing our patterns and all that, then often than not, we have won probably half the battle, if you would. So that's going to be mine, is to cut down on smoking. What is Frank saying? Art Bell used to smoke low tar and nicotine Carltons. Art said they were cigarettes only in an academic sense. So I guess this is what Tico is rationalizing too. And what is Van saying? Tabarcons? You're gonna have to pronounce it, Vance.
Tabarkans.
Tabarcons, I like that. I like that. Good job. So, and there's Graham. Did you have 3 going at the same time? My mother had 2 going while she was on the on the batch once. No, I've never no, I haven't gotten to that extreme, if you would. Again, it's all about when you're not thinking about it. You're not there driving, you're in the car, you're having a coffee in the morning on the porch. Those so much of what we do, how they get us, the archons or tobaccarons, as Vance calls them, is when we are unconscious, when we are unaware, when we have no gnosis. So that's again the best thing we can do in the world with these things is wake up. So Having said that, and I'm sure I'm going to rationalize the shit out of this as the show continues, I'm feeling much better. I'm like the guy in Monty Python, but I'm feeling much better. Can I have another cigarette? No, I am much better for a couple of reasons. And one of those, as I said, is because of your wonderful support and advice. A lot of the holistic modalities that work really well. Again, the turmeric and ginger, there's some pine needles and everything. And just people kept sending me things or ideas, and I kept using it. And the excruciating, mind numbing, paralyzing pain has been going away. I said last time. Now it's very bearable to live, or it was very bearable to live. And a lot of you, I think it's your positive energy. I've had like a Reiki healer say they will send me healing ideas and magicians getting together. I think all of this works. And of course, my mind being positive and so forth has really worked. So it's been, in a way, a challenging journey, but it's been a wonderful journey. And I'm going to be transparent with you. It took an even weirder turn in a very Gnostic way. Hmm. Somebody's asking, that was on the table too, because I'm very curious. Are you still thinking of doing the bee sting therapy? Yes, I am. Of course, anything that has to do with Artemis, I'll do it. But again, I'll have to talk to my doctor. He knows somebody about an hour away, and she has a, a beehive, and she uses bee poison straight from the bee to cure different maladies. So that's an option I'm going to try very soon. And again, your support has been amazing. With the funds, I certainly want to go see a specialist about my hip and other things like, when in Rome, make sure that because, man, I took walking for granted. And when those things are taken away from you, ooh, the things we take for granted, little things, it's amazing when they're not there. And we wonder, how did I do that? So I don't want to take my mobility for granted again. Now, having said that, the the big turn, big wheels keep on turning. Proud Sophia keeps on turning, and it was Sophia. I had an individual, I call her my Gnostic witch, and she called me and she said that she had a Sophia came to her in a very specific vision, and Sophia has been doing that for her. And Sophia specifically said Miguel, and she said Miguel still has a destiny with me, and I want him to be better. And she specifically told my witch all these ingredients for a tea, a cream, and these crystals for a bath. And this was about 6 weeks ago. And of course, at the time, I was like, I was like, I'll try anything. You're in pain, you're frustrated, your mental health is going down the toilet because you just can't catch up and everything is different and who you are is no longer there. So, and of course, it was the only individual who said it was coming from Sophia, right? Can't get more Aeon bite than that. So I jumped and I started doing the treatment she told me. And within a few days, I kept getting better and better and better. And I swear to you, now there is no pain. Now there's only like it feels like cramps, like a tightness. And I even tried now I can actually walk around the block without a problem. I went to the water park with the kids, and for the first time, I could swim with them and do stuff with them. In other words, the first time since January, I was actually mobile. Yes, again, there's a soreness and it feels like I'm getting cramps, but I'm like, that's nothing compared to what it felt like. And I am walking again. I can walk through the grocery store. I can walk up and down the street. I'm starting to do more of that complicated yoga because I got so out of shape, and now I can hopefully get myself in some sort of shape because not exercising was just killing my mind and well, killing my body. So it's incredible. I mean, I can't believe it. I think, well, let's put it this way there is a way we can there is a way to find out if you would because of course in my mind I'm already going, well, what if it's just placebo? I believed it and it's happening. It's not healed, but somehow I believed it and the pain is going away. And I was talking to Graham on the phone, and his father was a physician. Hope you don't mind. I said, tell the people this little anecdote, Graham. And his father said, 90% of healthcare is placebo. And I said, that's fine. Could this be mind over matter? Could I just be healing myself? Is all the energy working? What's going on? But again, I cannot believe that I'm actually mobile. And again, it's just sore. It feels like I've got yeah, just like soreness, like, it feels like I just finished a long soccer game or a long, or a long track meet, and I'm just like, that kinda soreness that, "Oh, it's sore and I wanna sit down, but I could still walk." So it's worked really well. But again, I wanna find out, I wanna prove it because I don't somebody could say, "Well, you asked for this money, it was a scam, and now you're giving me this," like, people, "Oh, Jesus came and healed me," which I do believe in these powers of healing, of course. We all see it, right? We see people who have cancer and it goes in remission or other diseases. We never expect it to happen to us, but we see it in others. We always think, well, I got to take it on the chin, man. I got to take it on the chin. So there is proof, and next time I will show you the proof because like I said, I did get the ultrasound. It's right there. Left leg veins are just destroyed. La da da da. It's all there. I mean, you could see it. It's from Fox Imaging in Naperville. Another physician did it. It's there. So in a week or two, I'm going to go back. I'm going to get another. I'm going to get another ultrasound, and if it's healed or and it's healing, then hallelujah, we have found the fountain of youth, people. Sophia has brought us the fountain of youth to planet Earth. And if it's not, then the power of the mind is making me functional and I'm still functional. So regardless of what the results say, and I will show you, we will compare the results here on Aeon Byte. It's incredible because again, as people around me, I am no need a cane. Again, I'm just walking around when a month or two ago it was just a living hell walking around and trying to be mobile. So yeah, what a turn of events. I'm glad after all these years of servitude to Sophia, I'm glad the Queen of Heaven finally came through. So, got to be grateful for that, and of course, as I mentioned, I will keep you in the loop. Maybe Sophia can help me quit smoking. We shall see. We shall see. Uh So that's it with the health thing, but there is much more. I got one more piece of news to tell you, and then I wanted to, as a gift, give you this presentation on how the Gnostics saw healing, which is very important, and I think you'll enjoy a lot. But first, for one of my projects for this fall is I am doing a reboot of my novel Stargazer. Most of you probably don't know about it because it's sort of kind of a forgotten project, but in the late 90s, I published this novel under Warner Books called The Queen of Darkness. And I was a Roman Catholic back then, and it is the most Gnostic story ever. It's a vampire story, but completely turned around. And I have to say, I'm going to say it right here. It's better than The Matrix. I don't know if it's better than Dark City, but it's up there. It's an incredible multi-layered Gnostic tale of remembrance, and it's got all the characters that we love from the Gnostic Gospels and symbol and everything. It must have come out of me somehow because the novel starts. I was sitting there one day saying, "What would back then I was bartending, and I said, what would happen if a vampire came to a bar? What would a vampire bar be like?" And I picture this vampire coming to the bar, and in the back, instead of kegs, there'd be humans tied to tubes. Yeah, pretty grotesque. And they would give him a pint of blood, and he would drink it. And they said, "Well, what would he do if he walked out?" And this vampire utopia came out, which of course is a nightmare for humanity. But how would the powers that be keep the vampires under control if they were ruling the universe? How they would have to use the same techniques that the archons use today. And this whole novel came out of me, and it got published again by Warner Books. It did okay. I think it through the years it had a run of 100,000 sales. But remember, it was out in a paperback, back in the day when there were like what, $4, 3.99 for a paperback. So my royalties were like 30 cents or 40 cents per copy. So it's not like I made it was just a little extra dough in those times. And then eventually Warner Books said, well, we're going to give you the rights. It did what it did. So then I just republished it myself on Amazon and sort of left it there. But then again, a calling sort of came to me this year, and I teamed up with this, as I call him, my alchemist magician, Arturo, and we're going to work on bringing back Stargazer and an other media. And I don't want to tell you what the other media is, but I think you'll be very surprised. Again, this is the most Gnostic tale, and it's got a sequel, and it's going to blow your mind away. In fact, I say, it would, what people say, it make a great movie. It would make a great movie. And I think in 2020, I had a production company in Hollywood come and accept it and whatever. I never, me, I don't trust Babylon much. So I gave it to them, but then they just kind of shelved it and nothing happened. But it would make a great movie. So any filmmakers or screenwriters out there who might be interested. As I say here often, you cannot lose with a Gnostic theme movie. It is going to be successful and it is going to be a moneymaker. I've given so many examples on Aeon Byte. It still happens today. It's just, it's a slam dunk, people. So to get things started, I wanted to show you. Here is the cover. I don't know if we can make it any bigger. Is that as big? Vance, I think that's as big as it's going to go, right? But
Yeah, I
yeah,
think so.
yeah. Unfortunately, that's it. But it's a new cover if you want to go to Amazon and those places, and that's a protagonist Byron, and it's book one of the Dark Instinct series, and the tagline is "The future is paradise, but not for humans." And indeed, it is not. And why he's called Stargazer is very touching. So I wanted to mention to you about Stargazer and get the ball rolling. We will culminate with this project probably, oh, surprise, and probably during Halloween. It seems like the best time to do it. So get ready for some Stargazer. And I think we are at the stage where we've all recovered from our Twilight PTSD. So I think we're due for vampires to make a comeback, if you know what I mean. Um, so that's that. So my gift to you again is I wanted to say again, I truly appreciate your support, you being there, your kindness through this journey. It's been amazing. I know mystics have been getting it on the chin. Even Greg Carwood, he had a little bit of health issues recently, had to go to the hospital, and I told Greg, maybe the archons are done with like trying to drive us crazy or trying to make us addicts or whatever. Maybe they're just going for the physical body. They're going for the meat sack and they're clearing the chessboard. I don't know. I don't know. Something is going on, but also a lot of astrologers and seers are saying August through September could be a good break for us, mystic minded, or those who are speaking those forbidden truths, if you would. So, but yeah, take care of yourselves and know there is a solution and there is medicine and energy really works. So, what's my presentation? Well, again, we are talking about healing, right? How did the Gnostics look at healing? Well, as you'll find out, it was probably very important and it really was central to Gnosticism, to Gnosis. How is that? Well, let's find out. It wasn't, again, Gnostics weren't just people like shaking their fists at the demiurge 24/7. It wasn't just about, yeah, about the intellectual side or all that. But let me explain more. Vance, can you use your magic, your cool magic with the. All right. The Gnostic cure, healing the human spirit. And this is mostly based on the scholarship of April DeConnick in the Gnostic New Age. how ancient Gnostic movements reinvented religion as a comprehensive system of physical, mental, and spiritual therapy designed to restore the whole human being. That's quite something. That's quite a claim, isn't it? But yes, to the Gnostics, it was essential. The healing of the mind, the body, and the spirit was essential. And, oh, excuse me. And why not? I mean, Socrates said the body is a tomb. Plotinus hated the body. I mean, it's not like the Gnostics were these negative dudes. They were realistic. The body is a vehicle. Perhaps it's an excretion of our soul, but it is a vehicle for us to find gnosis and find unification with the universe. But it is a very faulty vehicle that breaks down, that often doesn't make sense, and in the end will fail us in terrible and often painful ways. So that's the truth. So, of course, the Gnostics weren't like, cutting their wrists or anything like that, or drinking Jack Daniels 24/7. They knew you kind of had to take care of the body as much as you had to take care of the soul and of your sanity. So, as April writes, the core insight is religion reimagined as medicine. The old model, traditional religion focused on appeasing creator gods through sacrifice, ritual, and obedience, still does. The goal was to charm divine powers and secure their favor in this life and the next. Whoopee! Now, the Gnostic revolution. Gnostic movements radically redirected religion's purpose. Rather than charming the gods, their spirituality aimed to heal humanity, to cure a deep primal wound at the very root of human existence. DeConnick calls it the Gnostic cure. This was not a minor reform. It was a total reinvention of what religion was for. It really turned things around. The humans became the center of what should be healed. And it's interesting, people often wonder, are there any parallels between the Gnostics and the Rosicrucians? And the one thing we say is healing. The Rosicrucians were very much about healing the body, the mind, and the spirit, the soul. So these two movements were, you might say, obsessed with it, and in a way, as Ronnie Pontiac has shown us in his most recent book on the Rosicrucians weren't very keen on the world. They were looking for the apocalypse, the eschaton. They thought things had just gotten too out of hand since the fall of Eden, and it was time to just end it and all of us go back home. So in that way, they did also share the same view as the Gnostics. Of course, the Gnostics saw the world created by the demented creator God, and the Rosicrucians still saw, well, it was created by a good God, but things had just gotten out of hand, and we'd reached our expiration date. Let's bring the end of the world, and let's do what we can to bring the end of the world. The diagnosis: primal trauma and separation anxiety. Before the cure, the Gnostics needed a diagnosis. Their answer was sweeping. All human suffering stems from a single cosmic wound. Wonder what that is. The origin story. The solitary divine source, often called the Father or the Great Life, dispersed into many differentiated beings. This individuation was the birth of the cosmos and the birth of suffering, separation, the primal consciousness cleaving into different sections. So next comes the wound. The result was the quote, separation of the human spirit from its divine source, producing feelings of alienation, anxiety, fear, and remorse that are basic to our nature, not the result of personal sin. Yes, we were cast down here and we already had trauma. The sleeping self, the true self, the spirit, lies, quote, captured in human physicality, buried in our psyche, blanketed with our emotions, imprisoned in our flesh, dormant, unexpressed, and forgotten. It waits, pain to be awakened. Whew. So that's pretty intense. And I think it's right. I mean, again, We cannot transcend this world until we are whole, until we have healed and become complete. I mean, that's just a fact. It's not as simple as wearing black Nikes and jumping on a comet and saying, I want to escape this reality. No, we have a mission, and that is to heal ourselves, to become and to remember our full divinity, and often to help others awake too. So this makes perfect sense what the Gnostics were saying or declaring. Gnosis, the medicine of direct experience. The cure for this primal wound was gnosis, not book learning, not moral performance, but direct experiential knowledge of a transcendent God. Deconics describes it as an, quote, utterly transforming therapy that restored initiates to spiritual and psychological wholeness. And she gives the different steps. One is catharsis, purging delusions and passions. The other one is awakening from spiritual sleep. Then we have maturation, nurturing spirit into self divinity. And the last one is integration, reunion with the divine source. Deconic identifies this structured initiatory process as the earliest form of religious psychotherapy, developed centuries before modern clinical models of the mind. And probably before April, we have Carl Jung. Carl Jung did say the Gnostics were history's first depth psychologists. They went deep into the soul and they went deep into finding out all the trauma and shadow and pain and unattended emotions more than any group. And yeah, they were very psychological. In some Gnostic groups, you sat around and shared your problems. And interesting, this you see this sort of these steps, which you could compare them easily to many of the mystery religions that might have been mimicking the same thing. I use this in my David Bowie book. I show that David went through these steps. He very, I would say, unconsciously knew of the ancient traditions of the shamans and the mystery religions and the Gnostics, and he went through steps. So from from growing up to becoming Ziggy Stardust to becoming superstar David Bowie to all that, he was hitting all of these steps. He went into the underworld and he transformed himself. But again, you'll have to wait for the book to come out, or I'll talk about it more in my talk at the Theosophical Society. The four stages of initiation. Let's expand on this. A roadmap through the inner cosmos. Quickening, awakening. Ritual depicted as underworld journeys were designed to startle the spirit out of its unconscious sleep. In the Sethian Apocryphon of John, the goddess forethought commands, whoever hears, get up from the deep sleep, a divine smack to the dormant self. And again, you see this in many of the mystery religions where you go down to Hades to meet all these demons, which can you could say are just your own personal demons. Number two, catharsis or purgation. The awakened spirit then had to be purged of delusions and passions. Initiates face their internal anxieties, personified as a cosmic dark lords or archons, and conquer them through secret names, prayers, and powerful signs. Number three, maturation or growth. The spirit, now a fledgling, needed nurturing. Initiates undertook ascents into transcended realms, bathing in living water and rivers of light, to be transformed into a rehabilitated, self sustaining divinity. And lastly, number four is integration, reunion. The final stage, ecstatic reunion with the divine source. Envisioned as a bridal chamber, the spirit united with its divine twin. Only this direct Gnostic meeting could ease the spirit's suffering, restore its integrity, and make it fully alive. So, yeah, we got to meet our daemon, as Plato said. When we die, as in the myth of we got to go meet our daemon and figure out what's going to be our next mission. The mechanics of healing, altered states as therapeutic technology. Gnostic spirituality was forged in ecstatic fires. And that's a quote from April DeConnick. Gnostic rituals were precisely engineered to hyperstimulate the autonomic nervous system and produce altered states of consciousness, experiences of disembodiment, liberation, and divine contact that constituted the actual medicine. Yes, those astral flights were actually a form of healing as you communed with these higher forces. So, and what were some other techniques? One was intentional stillness. Standing motionless in specific prayer postures overstimulated the parasympathetic system, producing, quote, oceanic tranquility and transcendence of self, a bodily practice of returning to the primal silence of God. Yeah, can't underestimate that meditation. Vowel chanting. The Scythians chanted patterns of the seven vowels to invoke divine creative power. Marcus, the magician, used the long vowel O as a universal letter of healing, believed to signal the soul's distress to its angelic avatar. Sacramental inebriation. Marcus developed an ecstatic Eucharist using drug infused wine that sent participants into a psychedelic ecstasy, heart racing, perspiring, in which they would prophesy and experience direct divine encounter. And I would suggest you go to whether it's Patreon or AB Prime, check out or the YouTube membership, check out my Gnostic vowels and magic presentation. It's got all of this or most of it and really expands and shows you some of the vowels you can use in meditation and so forth. So check it out for a little bit more if you would. And of course, as I always say, the Gnostics knew every individual was different. We all have different spiritual constitutions. That's why the Gnostics were spread out in small lodges and groups because you could find the dope that worked for you and only you and run with it. There was never one size fit all theology or healing like other religions. Spiritual warfare as physical medicine. The Gnostics held a radically holistic view of the human person. Spiritual wholeness and physical well being were inseparable. The wellness of the body depended entirely on the wellness of the spirit. Physical disease was attributed to dark lords, star demons who rule the material world. Using a concept called melothesia, limb assignment, each body part was believed to be controlled by a specific demon. Healing a disease, therefore, meant defeating the demon responsible. Guess I'm fighting the demon who's controlling my left leg, huh? And we have the healer's arsenal. Secret names and prayers of power intoned over the afflicted. Direct breathing, noisy sounds, and popping noises to destabilize demonic influence. Therapeutic stones, medicinal plants, and sacred roots. And as she writes, the perfected Gnostics, veterans of ecstatic shamanistic journeys, lived as healers and miracle workers who believed that they had, quote, conquered the gods with their power. And I wonder too, I mean, I know we may make fun of them, but because you have these archons assigned to every part of your body, you wonder if maybe these archons to the Gnostics were chakra centers, or that maybe there were acupoints or the zue that you find in acupuncture. It could be. It could be. I mean, if it works in the East, why not? Maybe the Gnostics found something similar here in the West. And yes, beyond April's work, Dylan Burns, one of the last few Gnostic scholars in academia proper, he also, when I interviewed him, he talked, yeah, the Gnostics were all full of potions and amulets and different things for healing and healing the mind and all that. So, yes, healing was very important to the Gnostics. And again, that's why I call Gnosticism at its core a shamanistic tradition, even if many neo Gnostics still scoff at me for that. But hey, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? I'm just trying to keep the customer satisfied. And now let's look at some case studies and therapeutic communities. How different Gnostic groups practice healing. We've got the Mendians who still do this today. Shout out to Ray again. Daily therapeutic immersions in running river water were believed to open a channel to the world of light, healing all pains, diseases, and the seven mysteries inhabiting the body. Then you had the Elkosites, which the Manichaeans came from. And Mani was an Elkosite before he started his own religion. Mani's original Baptist community immersed the sick up to 40 times over 7 days in cold water to systemically cleanse them of both sin and disease. Yeah, the cold baths are certainly made a comeback today, if you hadn't noticed. Then you've got the Ophions or the Ophites. The snake Gnostics considered healing the summit of their wisdom, using a zodiac map to guide the soul past planetary rulers through secret prayers and signs. Again, the astral travel is the healing. It's like going to a spa, if you would, except in the pleroma. And then we got our friends, the Valentinians. They viewed sacred marriage as restorative. Prayerful intercourse between spouses were believed to draw upon angelic avatars and repair existential damage in the spirit. Yes, the Egyptians, Gnostics had their own sex magic, and it seems the Valentinians had their own version of it. But again, just showing you the different ways that the Gnostics approach healing beyond all the potions and amulets and everything else. They were definitely all about the healing. I think that's a slam dunk. Then we have the Jehuans from the Book of You, liturgies of ascent. And I did do a presentation. You can find this at the Virtual Alexandria Academy, where I break down this book and all the medicines and prayers that they used. And I actually had somebody try some of them, and she said they really worked. But anyway, they're sacred texts. The Ewan's left behind church handbooks, detailed liturgical manuals containing rituals specifically designed to cleanse and prepare the soul for its journey upward through the heavens. Their goal was not simply moral improvement, but cosmic liberation, guiding the soul past the purgatories of each heavenly level until it could finally rest in the treasuries of light. A complete map of the soul's journey. What makes the Ewan's text remarkable is their systematic, almost clinical precision. Each level of heaven had its own guardian, its own obstacle, and its own required password or prayer. The liturgies function like a spiritual GPS, a step by step guide through the cosmic bureaucracy that stood between the suffering soul and its ultimate rest. This reflects the broader Gnostic conviction that knowledge itself is therapeutic. Knowing the map, the names, and the signs was the medicine that set the spirit free. The legacy of Gnostic revolution. The Gnostic revolution was, at its heart, a revolution in what religion is for, a shift from appeasing a creator deity to healing the human being. DeConnick argues this is precisely why Gnostic spirituality has survived for 2,000 years, and it ain't going anywhere after all these other occult fads fade away in a few hundred years, like I say. The ancient insight. By diagnosing the root of all suffering as a primal trauma of separation, not sin, not moral failure, Gnostics offered a path of healing rather than punishment. The modern echo. DeConnick concludes that Gnosticism's therapeutic understanding of religion has become our own. Today's most successful spiritual movements offer psychological restoration and an emotional attachment to a God of love. Yes, I guess the world has caught up once again. The enduring model. The Gnostics establish a model of faith that prioritizes human healing above all else, one that resonates as powerfully in the modern world as it did in the ancient world. So, in short, we were cast down here, we were separated from either Sophia or the mind of God. That's traumatic. We were kicked out of the garden. That was traumatic. So we need a lot of healing. We need a lot of trauma. And the Gnostics knew that and they knew how to go about it. I always love that saying by the Buddha who said, the baby is wise because it cries, because it's no, the baby knows, oh shit, I've been cast down into another damn meat sack. And the trauma continues. Rebirth is traumatic, the memory wipe and all that. It's all a trauma. And the Gnostics were the one group who were just laser focused on the healing, our mental healing, our bodily healing, and the healing of our souls so that we could then be useful to heal the very soul of the universe. I'll end by this quote by April Connick. Gnostic rites, whatever their form, were meant to be personally therapeutic, to awaken, purge, mature, and integrate the alienated human spirit, the real self, with its transcendent root. The goal was to heal the separation anxiety that had started it all. Usually, divinities from the transcendent world came to Earth to assist and teach humans about their predicament and whatever ritual are needed to liberate the spirit. So that's it. And yeah, just thought I'd mention I do one-on-ones. I do quite a few, a small group that is most of them have been with years. So if you're interested in Gnostic healing, addiction, and all that, that's certainly something I can work with you. Obviously, I'm the guy who can't quit smoking, but we all got our Achilles heel and we all got our 800-pound gorilla we got to figure out. But it is possible, and again, the Gnostics, as I keep saying, did it better than anybody. So that's my little presentation I want to share with you. I don't know if everybody left because I usually put these here. But let me get a sip. And any questions from you, Vance, or the audience on this, or interesting quotes
Questions.
from you
I
too?
I'm always wondering. I'm always wondering, the division between the allopathic medicine and the doctors and the healing, or mixing different healing, methodologies from different places. I mean, is it bad to mix things like one from here, one from here, one from there, or should we stick to one particular methodology?
I guess whatever works for you, right? I think sometimes if you are in a state of self knowledge, I think your body will almost tell you. I guess I have to be, maybe I'm lucky. I mean, I'm still not out of the woods, but it was a gut feeling what to take and what not to take, a lot of times. And a lot of times it's
Yeah,
just saying, if so many people were saying ginger and pepper and turmeric, I was like, I'm just going to throw these together. So, and same with the Western things. You kind of just know what might work and what might not work. So,
yeah. I do that naturally.
yeah,
Um,
listen to your body. It knows.
I may have a version of what you have too. I didn't have the quite the debilitation, but as an older guy, my legs are cold a lot. Like even right now, I have
Mm,
to throw a blanket on them sometimes. I love the sun. Going out in the sun. Sun is very healing in itself if you don't
mm.
get too much of it.
Yeah, could be arthritis. I think that's because my doctor said my feet were not cold, so he just thought. In fact, that's interesting. The arterial occlusive disease and arthritis, you would have cold feet, so that's what threw him off the trail, which he didn't understand.
Ah,
But everything is spinal stenosis would make sense because it's in the spine, so your legs are fine. The temperature would have been fine, so
right, right.
could be arthritis. But I would
Oh,
take
I've
that
got that in my
turmeric and
back.
ginger. Yeah, yeah.
Maybe I should take the turmeric and ginger. My wife takes a lot more stuff than I do.
My brother confessed. I mean, my brother is as mainstream as it comes. In the last few years, I've sold him on being a conspiracy theorist, but he's a very conservative Christian. But I didn't know he had arthritis so bad he couldn't write or type. And he says with the turmeric
Wow,
and the ginger and the pepper, now he can write on his keyboard again. So
that's
I
great.
would, yeah, I didn't know. You just told me that like 2 weeks ago. He never mentioned it. It's not the devil's potion.
And let's see, we did have super chats too.
Good.
Let's see. I don't think you've shown any. First of all, we have a new member.
Oh, thank you.
That probably says
BGN5S.
something. Yeah.
Well,
Be-
thank you.
yeah.
Thank you for your support.
Yeah, I'm not sure what there must be some clever thing that says, but yes, thank you. And then we got uh, let's see, Eric Alexander, and
Miss
he sends us good regards.
Miss Gordon and Tracy very much, but we are forever changed by the path they walk. Glad to see you in good spirits tonight, Miguel. Thank you, Alexander. Really appreciate it. Yes, I miss them all the time. I don't want to forget them. I will like tonight. I will keep their magic alive, and yeah. And that's the other thing people tell me, even on podcasts, is like, you look better, Miguel. You look healthier because I'm just not in doing the podcast like especially like in May. It's like I'm in so much pain. Gordon has died, and I'm just like, I mean, I'm sure you've done that too, Vance. You're at work at a meeting and you're just crushed, but you got to get through it, right?
Yep,
You got to take care of the kids. Need baths, whether you're heartbroken or in pain. It's just
got to keep
it's
on
life.
keeping on.
Yeah. So
And we got Brent Bernhoft. Thank you for the gracious and generous super chat. And what are your thoughts on technomancy? Technomancy. Can computers?
technomancy,
Yeah,
magic, and personal transformation. Blessings to you and thank for years of ground breaking content. Much love. I would say, yeah, why not? I mean, as I always say, even with like AI, uh, what kind of, I don't know if it's a trite saying or my Gnostic dad joke, but if God can speak through a burning bush, he can speak through Chat GPT, right? He can speak, you know what I mean? The divine, you're
sure.
not going to limit the divine to an altar of flames or your I Ching deck or something. If God wants to speak to you, he's going to speak to you. The question is, are we going to listen when he sends those patterns and messages? So I would say so. Yeah, yeah, for sure. I mean,
Yeah, I have two instances of using that actually. Years and years ago, I wrote a program and I called it the Mystic Oracle. And what it was is it was a Ouija board, but implemented on the computer. Use the mouse
cool.
as the planchette, and it had the alphabetic layout and so forth. And you put your hands on it, and the mouse would move and stop on a letter, just like it does the Ouija board, and it
Wow.
worked. And it worked. And then the other thing is that and almost anybody can do that. That's good at touch typing. You have to be able to be a touch typist, so you can't think about it and hunt and peck. But if you're a good touch typer to the point where if you think a word, it just comes out of your fingers, um,
Uh,
you can do automatic writing that way. You can just ask somebody, well, what is that, and then just be open to it and let whatever words come out. And you can hear the words kind of echoing in the back of your mind, and they come out. And where they're coming from, you should be careful as with any of this stuff. But that's another example of it. And
yeah.
we used that when my wife was pregnant with our son. Before that, um, she kept on feeling there was kind of a malevolent spirit trying to come into the world through her. And um, we use that to talk to this thing. And finally we worked back and forth, and I it's so long ago now that I don't remember the details, but finally we got it to go away. And then another better spirit came by, and that's the spirit we think that's actually our son.
Wow, that's
And
cool.
it
Cool
was really
story.
bad. I mean, it was really, really bugging her. And nothing like that has happened to her, before or since. But yeah, it was interesting.
Yeah.
A real
Pregnant
life
women
use.
always have the coolest mystic experiences and
Yeah,
dreams. The pathway is open. The pathway of life is open.
sure enough.
Yeah, there's you know how people will like argue with Chat GPT or AI?
Yes.
You force it, what are you missing? All that. My friend Maja Daou does that, but with the tarot. And it's not like she's trying to change the divination. She'll do the tarot and say, wait a and she's like, are you forgetting something? You know, in the same game that we play with AI, she does with the tarot. She
That's
says, I will get
interesting.
into hours argument with the spirits. But she's been doing it so long, she knows she has a feel like, you're doing with AI too. Like, are you forgetting something? Are what are we missing? No, you're not thinking straight. She does that with the spirit. So yeah, I mean, technology is technology. The fire from the gods was a form of technology. So I don't. I'm not going to judge. God, the spirits, God will speak any way they want. It's up to us if we listen. So, anything else? Anything else? Wishing you well, my friend. Thank you very much. The problem is those developing A models are more archonic in nature. I wouldn't be surprised, but everything's a double-edged sword, and the archons do, as Paul Levy says, the archons do give us the code to our salvation. That's they give it away. So, well, anybody else have any questions that are members or not?
Let's see. I didn't see any. I could have missed them. I'm tracking 2 YouTubes tonight, but actually one is pretty quiet.
Yeah. My personal one's pretty quiet, but again, I wanted to get the word out because usually if I write like a post about my health update on Facebook, then all the people on Discord and YouTube don't get it, or vice versa. So if I can just make a video every couple of weeks or 3 weeks and then spread that video out and on podcast, then hopefully everybody gets the update and they know. That's why I wanted to do that. And yes, things are getting better. Again, I will in my next one in 2 or 3 weeks, I will bring the results and we'll find out what's going on. Let's find out what's going on. It's nice not to have a foot that's completely numb. The other day, I stubbed my left foot and I jumped in pain, and it was the best feeling because I hadn't felt sensation. I'd stub my toe and be bleeding, and I wouldn't even know it. Or like I said, I'd have flip flops or slippers, and I'd walk out of the house and not even realize I'd left my left slipper or flip flop
Right.
inside the house because I couldn't feel my left foot at all. So,
Yeah, and that's dangerous because people don't realize this, but the feeling in your feet is essential to your complete balance. If you have a numb foot or both of your feet, you're really in trouble because then your body doesn't really know what position you're in. So it's great
yeah,
that you got out of that.
yeah, I can feel something now. So I will continue Sophia's therapy. I think she's very specific and know exactly what I need to do. So unless we have any questions, or we will wrap it up. Do I have any more notes? I'm looking at all my notes. I had this great thing about Sophia I wanted to read, but now my throat is so dry, so I might have to do it for another one. This sort of omni myth of the fall of Sophia, but that will have to wait because again, all this talking in the presentation. Did you enjoy the presentation, Vince?
Oh yeah, definitely. I feel like I'm not up to the level where I could actually heal myself with this, but I might have an opportunity to do so pretty soon because in a couple of weeks they're going to dig into me. My urologist saw something he didn't like,
Mm.
so well, I'll have to cross our
Yeah.
fingers.
Yeah, definitely. I would definitely cross my fingers. And again, yeah, you could be surprised how you heal yourself. I mean, we've had guests like Beth Martins. Beth Martins had the stage 4 cancer, and the doctor said you've got 4 months. You need to prepare. Beth has been a guest many times. She's a friend, and she said no, and she simply used Tibetan meditation, stress release. She just did stress release, and the cancer left her, which is the old theory that, all our diseases are caused by stress and cortisol. You know what I mean? That's
Sure.
what causes
Yeah.
an imbalance in our head. And of course, it's hard, right? You're stressed at work. What are you going to do? You know what I mean? But the
Yep.
damage is done. It wears us out. So it will work out. It will work out. All right. Well, I think I got to look. We got some, again, good shows coming up. We've had shows on the Anunnaki on Abraxas, and next week, I believe we'll have a show on the lizard people with a reoccurring guest. Can't lose with the lizard people. And the Micah Dank will join us. He's has a theory. He's figured out the code of creation and history and all that. And if since it's Micah Dank, I would not be surprised because he's an excellent researcher, and he's going to show us that. I'll give a presentation sometime in August about how the Freemasons are actually well, they're truly a Gnostic religion. Yeah, you know me, I got to see Gnosticism everywhere, but it's not my idea. It's actually a Freemason came up with this idea from his research, a high level Freemason. Yeah, just good shows coming, good shows. And I really do appreciate your support. I love it that you're here. Your company has been great through this season of challenge, through all seasons. And I hope to give back. I have been giving back to you that gnosis that helps you, yeah, find the better version of yourself and ignite your divine spark. I think since 2022, I've lost half of my subscribers because times have changed and the economy is destroyed. But I'm glad I have this core following that is here with me and supports and keeps the lights of the pluralma going. So really appreciate it. So again, exciting things coming this fall, and especially when the David Bowie book comes out. So we shall all be here. Inshallah, inshallah, we shall all still be together. So, anyway, Vance, thanks for keeping us company as always, sir.
Oh, I'm glad to hear you're feeling better, and always glad to be here, Miguel.
Always glad to have you. Always glad to have the audience. You guys are amazing. You are going to do so many wonders. Till then, what do you want me to say? Keep writing your own gospel, living your own myth, or Yaldi Baldi will write a ghostwriter to do that. And you don't want that. You're done with that. Time to take care of your own story. Good night, everyone.